What
'Cause,
kind
yeah,
of farm did the grandparents have?
cattle.
Cattle farm. Did they have a tractor?
Yeah. Oh yeah, quite a few.
Did you get to fuck with them?
Fuck with the cows?
No, the tractors.
Oh, I mean, I never like drove them around on my own and farmed, but I would like when I was a kid, I'd ride around in them with my grandpa and do some work with him because it was just kind of neat to go down to the country and see like a large cattle farm operation in
What'd they do
use.
with the tractors? Like I don't know what like they just push poop around or something? Like clean the asphalt? What does a tractor do on a
Like
cattle farm?
like baling hay.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so a lot of hay baling. I'm sure there's a lot more he was doing, like digging shit for fence posts or whatever the hell he was doing. Because these are like main like industrial tractors, not like,
Not an estate tractor. No, these are
yeah,
yeah.
these are big like big tractors because they had quite a few cattle. I don't remember the actual number, but there were a lot, and that was just neat. I really liked cows as a kid because it was cool to go up to an animal that's so huge and also either afraid of you or completely indifferent. And it was neat to like be able to go touch her and be like, this thing's like the biggest animal I've ever been close to, and it doesn't give a shit. Like
And
I don't know.
you can touch them?
Oh yeah, like I just walk right up to I just walk around and touch them.
I went to
Yeah.
a cattle farm as an adult. Call me like 32, and someone said they'd pay me $100 if I could ride a cow, and I'm like,
I'll give you 1,000.
Yeah, I didn't try and ride them. Like,
so
I just,
dude, I couldn't even touch them. Right?
Of course not.
Let alone getting on their back. I think I've told this story before. I'm like, going by, not looking, I'm darting closer, and I was unable to fool a cow. I was outsmarted every time, and they're quicker over short distances than you might guess. And
yes, they definitely are. Well, the
they're-
way to touch them is you wait until they're all by the trough, and then when they're eating, you could be, a well-known cattle serial killer, and they won't move. Like
Well,
if they're eating, they'll go walk right up to you. You can walk right up to them and touch them. Like as long as it's not like really
I
skittish
think
and
your
there's a little one
grandparents
near.
are well-known cattle serial killers.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's a good point. Yeah. We were all serial killers.
Yeah, I would always feed them with like we call it sweet feed in like a bucket, and they would come like you shake it in the bucket, and they're really smart. So they'll come to that sound. That's how we like corralled them all together when we took those pictures of Wings like hanging out with cows and stuff. We just like poured the sweet feed out and got them to come.
I
But
never
I've
had
seen
the thing that some little kids had where like when they see the animals they don't want to eat them anymore. I can still remember like the question I'd ask is like point at different cows and be like, when's that one gonna get eaten? My grandpa would be like, well, that's just a little one. It'll probably be a little while before we do anything with that one. And it was like, when's that one gonna get eaten? Well, that's one of my bulls. We're not gonna eat that one. I'll probably sell them off in a few years. And it was just like, I don't know. It was neat seeing like this is the food I like to eat wandering around me.
Yeah, that would have been the opposite.
I've milked cows before. That was cool to see how that works. Once.
My
Never
father
done
had
that.
a client, and I don't know exactly what the deal was because I was just a kid, but I think that the client wasn't like an amazing success. So we would go over and get free dinner, I think, in part of a way to like pay the bill. And he had a restaurant / petting farm, like petting zoo, and like so inside.
Unlikely bedfellows.
That's the funny part. Like, yeah, like in hindsight, I'm like, this is so unsanitary.
Yeah,
It's
this
like,
is disgusting.
and they'd be like, dude, you should come on Tuesday night. He's gonna shear the sheep. So like the owner of the restaurant would shear the sheep, and I don't know what shearing a sheep is like if this amount of blood is customary, but I suspect he's bad at it. And
there should be no blood, none.
Oh, there was blood. There was an.
I don't even want to hear about that.
As a child, I was concerned and like, man, I think he was just like you're supposed to shave it and leave like maybe a touch. He just like, and the thing when he finished had cuts and wounds all over him, like his back and his belly and shit.
Yeah, that's shitty.
This is like a pre-dinner show.
No wonder he couldn't afford his bills.
Yeah. So, and he had shear. But my favorite was.
Well, I'm going to serve dinner, and then we're going to have a learn to shear. Yeah.
Yeah. So I snorted. He had baby calves, like and we'd feed them with like a bottle. They had like a bottle, but it was bigger than a human baby bottle. And they would also suck your thumb, the calves, and their tongues were much bigger than you might guess. You know, it's like 8 times a human tongue or something. And when they suck your thumb, you're like, you can't help, in my opinion, to fall in love with this calf. Like you just hope it's never food and becomes somebody's pet.
Sounds like it might have sucked more than your thumb.
Yeah. Very skilled tongues, those bovines.
But yeah, he had that. He had a few arcade machines, a petting zoo, and it was one of my favorite restaurants. But they didn't have root beer.
I helped a calf. Or, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, you'd order root beer, and they'd say, "Well, we have birch beer." Like that's the same. No, birch beer.
I would try it. I don't know what that is.
Really? Oh, birch beer is a poor man's root beer, I suppose. I don't know. They're not the same thing at all.
Oh. Anyway, I well, we're still on cows because it's enthralling. I don't know if I've ever mentioned this on PK. I've never had one suck any part of me, but I have helped one give. I've helped a cow give birth. I was like a cattle OBGYN for a day. Have I ever said that?
You have not.
Okay, so basically, I was probably 16 or 17, and I was down at my grandparents' farm, and my grandpa was like, "Hey, come help me with some shit." And I was like, "Okay." And so we went up to one of the farms, or one of the barns where a bunch of the cattle were, and he's like, "That one over there, 3760 or whatever, because they have the tags, is gonna give birth. So I'm gonna walk it through this thing, lock its head in the I don't know the name of it, lock its head in these like 2 almost like prison bars, but like if you know when Bender grabs what?
It's a chute and a head gate
gate. So what it looks like basically is if you've ever watched Futurama, where you see Bender kind of grab 2 prison bars and bend them so they're slightly out. It's kind of like that, just enough space that you can sneak the cow's head through there, and then you close them around the neck, so it's not squeezing it or touching it, but they can't pull back out through.
It's kind of like a Chinese finger trap.
Yeah, like a Chinese finger trap a bit. And so he goes through the chute, gets in the gate, and my grandpa was like, "All right, I'm gonna do something from the front here," or he had to administer some medicine or something near the head, and he was like, "You can't do this because if it thrashes or something, or I don't know what the danger was," but he said, "You go behind it." And so the legs were coming out first. I guess that's not the way it's supposed to happen. It's supposed to come out legs last, maybe. And so it was just like a cow vag about 5 feet off the ground, and then like 4 crisscrossed little cow feet in there. And in my head, I'm picturing like, there is no fucking way we're pulling this thing out of this cow vag. Like there's just physics, you know? And so wrap a chain around all of the legs sticking out of the vagina and tighten that up, a literal chain wrapped around it. And then I was standing there, and my grandpa's like, "All right, when I give the word, you're going to pull." And I'm like, how hard do I pull? Like just a gentle pull so I don't ruin this cow's like vagina, or just like a big pull? He's like, "You're going to have to give it a real good pull." And I was like, "Okay." And so he's like, "Right now." And so I just go as hard as I could, pulling this cow. I can see it coming out. I can see the ooze, the afterbirth, just all of it just oozing out like a little bit as it's coming, and I pull, and I kind of pictured it would be almost like the legs would come out and it would like drip down, and then like another piece, and it'd come out, and then it would just kind of like fall like the remaining 2 feet and just go plop. No, yank it out, and it was like all at once this thing came out of the cow, all of it 5 feet in the air, and then boom, just collapses. And I thought for a second, I'm like, "Oh fuck, there's no way that thing, like, it just began life with a 5-foot fall with all of its legs tied up." Like, that's not a fun way to begin it. And as soon as I undid the chain, like, it kind of got like licked by its mother, get all that afterbirth shit off, and it was walking relatively soon. But the amount of shit that really solidified what afterbirth is. And so I am prepared for the amount that a human woman can push out, because the amount that it was a fifth of an Olympic swimming pool of goo that came out in a big sack from this thing. And the sack was, of course, already punctured because it was leaking. And it's just the most grim water balloon ever.